Hello and welcome to the next lecture in the series of microbial genetics and molecular biology. Today, I'd like to discuss bacterial RNA polymerase structure and function. Polymerase is a name given for group of enzymes which are involved in converting polymers from monomers. So when it comes to RNA nucleotide assembly, it is assembling individual RNA nucleotides to form a chain of RNA, that is RNA polymerase. If the same thing was done for DNA, that is assembling nucleotides for formation of a DNA, that will be DNA polymerase. So as simple as that, we will study in detail about the RNA polymerase enzyme. RNA polymerase functions mainly for synthesis of RNA, that is ribonucleotides. RNA, these are of three types: mRNA, rRNA and tRNA. Here the focus of discussion will be mRNA because that is not a stable structure. It is a dynamic structure, synthesized and degraded as time may arise and situation may be needed. So RNA polymerase is responsible for synthesis of mRNA, rRNA and tRNA. rRNA means ribosomal RNA, tRNA transferryl RNA and mRNA messenger RNA. These all three are combinedly involved in protein synthesis. Protein synthesis which will be helpful for metabolism. Now we will not be discussing role of RNA polymerase in tRNA and rRNA because it functions very dynamically in mRNA synthesis during the lifetime of the cell. Having said that, ribosomal RNA and transferryl RNA, that is tRNA, are also the result of RNA polymerase only, but these are stable structures. They have evolved through evolution, and if something happens, then there is a gene for this RNA production, and the desired quantity, the fixed quantities of tRNAs and rRNAs will be maintained in the genetic pool. Whereas there is no fixed number for a mRNA because gene expression is protein synthesis. Gene expression is a synonymous name given for protein synthesis. During this, what happens is that mRNA is situationally synthesized. Once its job is over, it is broken down into nucleotides, RNA nucleotides, and subjected to the nucleotide pool. From the nucleotide pool, as the situation demands, more and more amount of nucleotides, RNA nucleotides, are recycled to form newer mRNAs, and then after the job is completed, degraded again. So this RNA polymerase, it catalyzes the formation of the phosphodiester bond between two nucleotides, that is sugar to phosphate. There is a phosphate bond. That is how it goes on joining the nucleotides. Here you can see the small t like structures. These are ribonucleotide triphosphates. The yellow colored strand in this figure is the DNA, and the blue colored strand, which is synthesized totally afresh, anew, devoid of the DNA, copying the messages present on the DNA, synthesizing a complementary strand, is the enzyme in this blue ball like structure, which is called as RNA polymerase. So it has certain components, it has certain functioning sites, and it has a major role in synthesizing mRNA. So we'll see how that happens. All it does by uncoiling the DNA, adding the nucleotides one at a time in 5' to 3' direction, and it uses the energy trapped in the nucleotide triphosphates itself. Just like ATP, all the nucleotides, they are triphosphates: ATP, GTP, CTP, UTP, TTP. That is adenosine triphosphate, guanosine triphosphate, cytidine triphosphate, uracil triphosphate. All these nucleotide triphosphates, these are energy rich in themselves, and they serve as a source of energy during this reaction, which is a high energy requiring reaction. Formation of a new genomic molecule, is a DNA molecule or RNA molecule, is requiring great amounts of energy, and at every time ATP cannot be brought here to suffice the energy requirements. So evolution has developed a mechanism where all the nucleotide triphosphates, they themselves are rich in energy because they are triphosphate. At a reaction, inorganic PPI, it is removed and one phosphate is left to give rise to a sugar phosphate bond. So this is how the RNA polymerase functions. RNA polymerase basically is an enzyme that synthesizes RNA from the DNA template. So the central dogma of life, the central dogma of protein synthesis, which is given in this figure, is DNA. If it replicates, it will form new DNA. DNA, if it transcribes, transcription, it forms RNA. This is the point of study today, discussion today. There are certain enzymes which can reverse transcribe this RNA into DNA. These are called as reverse transcriptase enzyme. And when this RNA which is formed, if it gets translated with the help of rRNA and tRNA, that is ribosomes and transferryl RNAs, it gets synthesized into a protein molecule. This is the main function. So here this round molecule is shown. This is the RNA polymerase. It is made up of various subunits. 5 subunits, a core enzyme which makes it a holoenzyme. I will come to that. So this enzyme basically functions by using the helicase activity of the DNA polymerase enzyme system. During DNA replication, DNA polymerase enzyme system, it uses a helicase, that is an enzyme which is involved in the unwinding of the DNA strand. Same enzyme is used here. Using the enzyme helicase, the RNA polymerase, it locally unwinds the DNA. So there is a local unwinding of the double-stranded DNA. If you can see this double-stranded DNA, there is a open complex. It is called as the RNA polymerase open complex, binds to the DNA, and one strand of the exposed nucleotides can be used as a template for copying down and synthesis of RNA, the process which is called as transcription. So that will be our next lecture, how transcription process unfolds and what are the stages involved in it. Today we are trying to understand the enzyme responsible for transcription. So it is RNA polymerase, and this RNA polymerase transcribes the information from the DNA into RNA molecule. As I just said, during evolution, 3 different types of RNA molecules have been synthesized. 2 are stable structures, that is the transferryl RNA and the ribosomal RNA. They are stable structures, whereas messenger RNA, it is a dynamic structure. It is synthesized, broken down, synthesized, and all this is by the recycling mechanism of recycling from the nucleotide pool. So these 3 types of RNA are messenger RNA, which codes for the proteins, non-coding RNA such as tRNA, which transports the amino acid into ribosome, amino acid to the ribosome to form the proteins, and ribosomal RNA, the actual site of protein synthesis, which helps in catalyzing the protein synthesis and developing the the polypeptide bonds between 2 amino acids. So this is how the RNA polymerase functions. How is it different from the DNA polymerase? We will see. RNA polymerase, it adds ribonucleotides, as simple as that. Means it has the capacity to recognize uracil molecules instead of thymine. That is how it picks. Enzymes, they are highly specific in picking up their substrates. RNA polymerase picks up adenines, uracils, guanine and cytosine, that is the ribonucleotide triphosphates, whereas DNA polymerase, it will add the deoxyribonucleotide phosphate. DNA polymerase will not pick up uracil, it will pick up thymine. Got it? So RNA polymerase does not have the ability to proofread while they transcribe. This is one major difference. We have seen in DNA polymerase that it has an editing function. If there are wrongly incorporated base pairs, it immediately recognizes that as wrong, pulls it out and adds the correct nucleotide. This is called as proofreading. RNA polymerase does not have this, therefore there are huge chances of mutations on the mRNA. So characteristics of a genetic code, when you are studying, you come across a perspective called as mutations. When the formation of nucleotides on the mRNA takes place, at that time, if the copying is not perfect from the DNA, There may be additions, deletions, substitutions, change in the chemical nature of the nucleotides. All this may result in mutations. We will study this in mutations when time may come, but at this time all this is what you can say at the core done by RNA polymerase. So RNA polymerase cannot proofread. Why? Answers are again evolutionary, because this is a dynamic structure. If this was stable for over the years, maybe then it would have resisted the mutation as DNA. DNA replication is a foolproof process. mRNA synthesis is not a foolproof process. It is subjected to many conditional, it is susceptible to conditional changes, and that is what mutation is all about. So RNA polymerase has an advantage over DNA, that DNA cannot de novo synthesize. It needs a primer, short primer, and that this RNA polymerase does not need any primer, because this is the one which is responsible for synthesis of primer. Synthesis of RNA is nothing but an extended primer. You can just imagine, not a 3 to 4 nucleotide, but along the length of the gene. What is the length of the mRNA? Length of the mRNA is the length of the gene. So RNA polymerases can work without the primer and synthesize a long mRNA which equals to the length of the gene. That is what Bidley and Totem had said. One gene, one enzyme, or one gene, one polypeptide. Intermediate, one gene, one polypeptide. Intermediate is a mRNA chain of the equal length. RNA will have error of one nucleotide in every 10,000 nucleotide. Understand what I am saying? This is a high error rate, and there is no proofreading. This is high because there is no proofreading. RNA polymerase enzyme, while copying down, it is so fast. I'll try to show you in an animation. It is so fast that it simply goes on making errors, and it remains. It is addition, deletion, substitution, it is a mutation. DNA, you see, it has one error in 100 lakh nucleotides, means 10 to the power 7 nucleotide. Here 10 to the power 4 nucleotides. One error in 10 to the power 4 nucleotides. Whereas DNA has error in 1 to the power 7 nucleotides, and that can also be removed by editing function. These are the basic differences between DNA polymerase and RNA polymerase. There are various types or forms of RNA polymerases. These in the genetic jargon are designated as RNAP. Bacteriophages, bacteria, archaea all contain the RNA polymerases. In bacteriophages, these are large single subunits. They make specificity factors which alter the promoter. Promoter is the region on the RNA where, on the DNA, where this RNA polymerase binds. For copying down of a DNA, this RNA polymerase needs to go and bind somewhere. That somewhere site is very specific. It is not somewhere. That specific region of binding of RNA polymerase on the DNA is called as promoter. And in bacteriophages, they are parasites. Try to understand. They alter the promoter itself, and they dictate the processes. And then they recognize the host bacterial enzymes also. Bacteriophage RNA polymerase modifies the promoter and recognize the bacterial enzymes, also modify their enzymes. Whereas in bacteria, 4 or more core subunits are there with exchangeable specificity factors. Okay, just if you have a pen, inside a pen there is a refill. Think that as a sigma factor. Means I can change it into a blue color refill, red color refill, green color refill, depending upon my need. As an examiner, I may need a red color refill. If I want to fill the marks, then black color refill. If I want to recheck and moderate, a green color refill. Pen will be the same. I can change the refill. Just like that, in bacteria, there is an exchangeable specificity factor. What are the functions of these core factors? I will explain at the end of the slides. E. coli has beta, beta dash, alpha, 2, gamma and omega factors inside it. So this is the enzyme which we will be studying in more detail. Whereas bacteriophages and archaea, these are just for your and even the eukaryotes, these are just for your understanding. Those interested in these can go on Google, Wikipedia, and find a great deal of differences of polymerase between bacteriophages, bacteria, archaea and eukaryotes. This is needed for your competitive examinations, but as my point of discussion here is your syllabus, will be more focusing on the bacterial RNA polymerases. Archaea, they also have multiple subunits related to both bacteria and the eukaryotes. Eukaryotes, it doesn't contain one RNA polymerase, but it has 3 RNA polymerases with many subunits. I'll just briefly mention for your common knowledge or general knowledge. Polymerase 1 is only the largest ribosomal RNA subunit. Polymerase 2, it is a pre-mRNA, and some small nuclear RNAs they associate with this, that is snRNAs, and small nucleolar RNAs, that is snORNAs, are used in RNA processing. All pre-mRNAs, small nuclear RNAs, mostly small nucleolar RNAs are used in RNA processing. Polymerase 2. Polymerase 3, tRNAs, 5S subunit of RNA, snRNA, and other similarly functioning RNAs in the eukaryotes. Eukaryote is a complex system. Many types of RNAs are there. So all these are synthesized by polymerase 3. The mitochondria and the chloroplast, they also contain RNA polymerase. Eukaryotic viruses are there which can take over the host RNA polymerase and encode on their own. This is also some we can say examples. These are some examples of RNA polymerase. But as I said, we will be focusing on bacterial RNA polymerase. These bacterial RNA polymerase were first isolated in 1960 by Samuel Weiss and Gerard Hurwitz independently. They are not co-workers. Independently in different laboratories, they isolated it, and they saw that these are responsible for all the 3 types of RNA production: mRNA, rRNA, and tRNA. RNA polymerase is a huge enzyme. It is made up of 460 kilodaltons and 5 subunits. E. coli RNA polymerase has 5 subunits, namely 2 subunits of alpha, 2 subunits of beta, 1 sigma factor, alpha, alpha dash, beta, beta dash, and a core enzyme. That this makes it a holoenzyme. Core enzyme without is the enzyme molecule without the sigma factor. Now this green color, sigma factor. What is this sigma factor? Okay, if you see in detail, the core enzyme cannot function without the sigma factor. Just as I said, just like the pen without a refill, sigma factor acts like a situational refill. Now, this core enzyme is needed for polymerization, whereas sigma factor is needed to recognize when this mRNA needs to be synthesized. mRNA needs to be synthesized whenever there is a need for protein synthesis, and protein synthesis, proteins can be enzymes, is needed when there is a situation arising in the cell. What are those situations? That situation can be nitrogen deficiency, can be spore formation, can be different types of metabolic conditions and situations. At each time, let me tell you, just like in the pen is common, there are different types of refills, there are different types of sigma factors in the cell. At that particular event or time, a different sigma factor will come and bind the core enzyme. It will form a holoenzyme that will be active. Now the core enzyme which is required for polymerization is always common, it is same. That will recognize the promoter. They both will go and recognize at the promoter, then they will move on the DNA polymerase till the point of actual synthesis takes place. I will explain that in transcription. Try to understand a basic idea. I will give you in the next slide how this functions. Sigma factor, try to understand, is like a refill situational. Different types of, maybe 10s and 20s, 100s types of sigma factor may be there. Okay. Each time different sigma factor comes to the core enzyme. Core, it is the core, it remains the same. Binds, and as it moves along the DNA, it will, once it reaches that gene site, core enzyme is removed and mRNA synthesis takes place. Once it is once it joins and becomes a holoenzyme, this holoenzyme is responsible for correct initiation of transcription, that is binding to the promoter. Okay, so these each units, they have specific functions. This is the structure of RNA polymerase and their functions. The holoenzyme of RNA polymerase in E. coli, it consists of 5 different subunits: alpha 2, alpha, alpha 2, beta, beta dash, omega, and rho factor, sigma factor. Alpha, it determines the DNA to be transcribed. Beta, it catalyzes the polymerization. Beta dash binds to the open DNA template, and the sigma factor is responsible for recognizing the promoter for synthesis of initiation. Show this in the next slide how it functions. All these assemble as it is shown here, and it forms a holoenzyme. So the core enzyme with the sigma factor is called as the complete enzyme or the holoenzyme. So transcription initiation by prokaryotes takes place like this. This is the structure. This green molecule is RNA polymerase, and the blue is DNA, red is RNA. As you can see, RNA polymerase binds to the open complex of DNA and starts synthesizing the mRNA. At this particular point, you can understand there will be an inlet and there will be an exit point. Inlet will allow nucleotides and exit will allow a chain of mRNA to be formed. So as you can see here on the DNA, a holoenzyme with all the 5 subunits binds, it slides, scans for the promoter. Promoter is the actual site from where mRNA synthesis will begin. As you can see, there is no mRNA. It is a closed complex. Once it reaches 35 nucleotide sequences upstream, which is called as -35 sequence, it binds, and then there the sigma factor is released. Okay, sigma factor, it separates from the core, and once a few phosphodiester bonds are formed, on the DNA RNA temporary hybrid here, this DNA opens and it gets free DNA nucleotides on the single strand as a template, which it copies. There is a temporary DNA RNA hybrid, and mRNA is released through the exit channel gate. So the same figure as you can see here in a more well labeled fashion. The processivity of the E. coli RNA polymerase is around 40 nucleotides per second. Can you imagine how does it look like? I will show you in an animation. It's a beautiful animation where at this speed of 40 nucleotides per second, see 1, 2, 40 nucleotide chain has been formed. 3, 4, 5, 200 chain. This is such a huge speed and no proofreading. So there are huge chances of errors. This is the point which gives rise to the concept of mutation. Okay, at such a huge speed of 40 nucleotides per second at 37 degrees centigrade in the presence of Mg2 plus ions, RNA polymerase functions. And in phages like T3 and T7, can you imagine the processivity is 200 nucleotides per second. Take a point in time, pause your brains to think about this RNA polymerase processing at 200 nucleotides per second. If possible, I will show you this animation at this speed, 200 nucleotides per second. Okay, imagine that. This enzyme has a non-spherical structure. At the end of my lecture, be ready to see the animation, a beautiful animation by Vehi DNA Calc website. I will give the link in the website also if you want to see it repeatedly again and again. But have this thing in mind, minimum 40, and in phages 200 nucleotides per second is the speed of mRNA synthesis. This enzyme has a non-spherical structure, means it is irregular, with a projection flanking a cylindrical channel where there is an entry gate for DNA and an exit gate for mRNA, synthesized mRNA. The enzyme covers over a region of a DNA which has 60 base pairs. Once it covers the promoter, 60 base pair DNA is encompassed inside it. So as it moves along in one speed, 60 mRNA molecules can be given out. Here in the figure you can see it is flanked on the sides by helicase. A helicase, it unwinds the DNA, and there is one which rewinds the DNA at the exit. At the entrance of this cylindrical channel of the RNA polymerase, there is unwinding of the DNA. So an open complex is there, and at the end, once the process is covered, it closes by rewinding. So the direction, there is a direction, and the active site, at the active site you can see Active site will be there. This is enzyme. At the active site, mRNA is synthesized. So there is a cylindrical channel here. The dinucleotide triphosphate is introduced in, and at the exit of the cylinder, as I said, enzyme has a non-spherical structure with projection flanking a cylindrical channel. This is a cylindrical channel here. You see the cursor. This is a cylindrical channel, and one end of the cylinder, which is entry for dinucleotide triphosphates, ribonucleotides, and at the end of the channel there is an exit of newly synthesized mRNA, right? So the sigma factor is very important. Now come to the point where I was talking about the specificity of this synthesis, when it is needed, or when does mRNA synthesis takes place. It takes place when there is a need of protein or enzymes in the cell. When does a protein or enzyme needed in the cell? When there is a situation arised in the cell. What are those situations? We will see. The most common type of sigma factor in E. coli is called as sigma 70. Like that, there are different types of labeled sigma 70, 53, 68, and what are their functions? I will tell you. This is the interesting part of transcription. I have always found it fascinating that how evolution has evolved into various sigma factors, different sigma factors, which can come and attach at the core enzyme, which is common for all types of mRNA synthesis. But when a sigma factor is different, it will recognize a different promoter for a different gene. How wonderful this is. Hundreds of sigma factors, imagine hundreds of gene, and when there is a particular situation needed, a different sigma factor will bind and come and bind at the core enzyme. It will form a holoenzyme. So sigma 70, this promoter. Now once it is over, mRNA, this releases, sigma 70 is removed from the pool, sigma 62 is taken. Now same core enzyme will not go and bind here, it will go and bind at another promoter site, which will synthesize another gene for another protein. How wonderful. So binding of the core enzyme to convert it into a holoenzyme, it is a critical role in promoter recognition. Okay, it is the sigma factor is the one which recognizes the promoter. There are thousands of different promoters. Now, because there are thousands of different genes, and it has a critical role in promoter recognition. It is not required for elongation. Elongation is done by the core enzyme. So sigma factor recognizes the correct promoter by decreasing the affinity of the enzyme at non-specific DNA sequences. So if this 70 had a specificity for this gene, then 62 will decrease the core enzyme's affinity to this gene, but it will increase the affinity towards another gene. This is a wonderful phenomenon and a very fascinating phenomenon, the cell going on. Okay, the amount is only 30% to the amount of the enzyme, though its percentage is only 30%. It has a very crucial role. So each sigma factor recognizes a different sequence of nucleotides upstream of the gene. As seen here, sigma factor 70 looks for -35 sequences, that is TTGACA region, and -10 TATA region. This -TATA region is called as the TATA region or the promoter region. I will be telling about this in mRNA synthesis in transcription in my next lecture. But see this -10, remember this is graduation. Every lecture is connected to the next lecture. Gradually you have to understand the things. In the end you have to connect everything, all hundreds of lectures, and develop a concept called as genetics. That is what the whole idea of education is. So here see the holoenzyme looks for -35 sequence. Here it binds, then -10 is the promoter region, which is TATA region, means repeated adenines and thymines give rise to a word called as TATA. Therefore, just humorously maybe, or some familiarity with the word TATA, it is given TATA region. Other sigma factors, they look for other sequences. The match may not be always exact. Better the match, more likely the transcription will be initiated faster. So you see there are alternative sigma factors also. Alternative sigma factors in E. coli I am talking about. Other than that, there are many types of sigma factors. Alternative sigma factor can be classified into two structurally unrelated families: sigma factor 70, the common one, and sigma 54. Although no sequence conservation exists between sigma 70 and sigma 54, they are the same family of the enzyme core RNA polymerases. Promoter structures recognized by sigma factor 54 differ from the regions on the DNA recognized by sigma 70. Okay, sigma 54 recognizes -24 and -12 of the promoter region, the same site. Why, how this is important, you will have to come to postgraduate studies for understanding this. This gets more interesting when you delve into deeper what is the difference between -24 and minus. But right now you just remember the normal sigma factor is sigma 70 in E. coli, and on the DNA, wherever there is a promoter, 35 bases upstream it starts recognizing, and at the 10, which is the Tata region, it starts the initiation of transcription, that is initiation of mRNA synthesis. Okay, sigma factors have four main regions that are generally considered, that is the N terminus and the C terminus of the polypeptide chain. Is the proteins homologous to this have functions, but they have different primary amino acids. Means we are talking about the core factor associated with N sigma 70 and core factor associated with sigma 54. The proteins which are homologous to sigma 54 RNA polymerase have they are functional sigma factors, but they have different primary amino acids. How much that is important you will understand when you will understand the 3D folding of a protein. Once a polypeptide chain is formed, its three-dimensional folding results into a functional protein. So that is one function or significance of the sigma factor. Now E. coli sigma factors, the basic housekeeping sigma factor, are called as the primary sigma factor, which is important for transcribing most of the genes in the growing cells and which makes most of the proteins and which is necessary to keep the cell alive, is sigma 70. It's also called as the D, sigma D. Okay, that is RNA polymerase D. Sigma 70, this is the housekeeping sigma factor. What is a housekeeping section of any house or a lodge or wherever people live? They maintenance. They maintain the rooms, clean, bed, etc. Service. So like that, it is a housekeeping sigma factor. It is called as the primary sigma factor. It transcribes most of the genes in the growing cells. It makes the proteins necessary to keep the cell alive. Like that, there are many other sigma factors. Sigma factor 54, which is synthesized from the RNA polymerase N gene, also called as RNA polymerase N. It is functional when there is limitation of nitrogen in the cell. It is called as the nitrogen limitation sigma factor. When nitrogen source is limited, this will come and synthesize the required nitrogen. Similarly, RNA polymerase S, it is sigma factor 38. Starvation or the stationary phase sigma factor. When the cells survive in the stationary phase, they form spores, and many things they do. When we have seen in the stationary phase of the growth curve, there all the core enzymes are bound with sigma 38. Okay, this is called as the starvational stationary phase sigma factor. Similarly, when there is a heat shock, the cell has to survive the heat shock and overcome it to live. At that time, RPOH, RNA polymerase H gene, that is sigma factor 32, when the cells are exposed to heat. Sigma factor 28 is responsible for flagella formation, flagellar sigma protein. Sigma factor 24, it is the extra cytoplasmic extreme heat stress sigma factor. Means in the extremophiles, huge temperatures above the optimum, the cells survive. They are called as thermophiles. In thermophiles, you will find, see, how do the thermophilic organisms or psychrophilic organisms or extreme organisms, they carry out their metabolism in normal conditions? Because they have different sigma factors binding to the core enzyme. Like that, the extreme heat stress sigma factor is sigma 24, and finally the ferric citrate sigma factor, which regulates the iron gene or iron time transport siderophore formation in siderophores. This is sigma 19 or FACI gene. So this is all about the RNA polymerase. This is all about holoenzyme, core enzyme, its structure. I hope you understood the concept, and now this gradually enters into a discussion in our next lecture, where we will be dealing with bacterial transcription. Once the RNA polymerase recognizes the promoter, there the actual journey starts till termination. So from here onwards, transcription, translation, or even for that extent replication will always have three processes: initiation, elongation, and termination. So in our next lecture, we will be seeing bacterial transcription, this content. Hope you understood. As I said, pause wherever necessary, rewind again and again, take down the notes, take screenshots, take notes, do whatever you need to do for understanding this concept, and see whether it makes you happy and enjoyable in the process of learning or not. Thank you. Let's meet again for bacterial transcription. But before going, let us just see the whole process of transcription in detail. This is the point where RNA polymerase has bound on a DNA. This is called as a transcription initiation complex. See, there is not only RNA polymerase, but a whole array of enzymes are bound. At the downstream, there are certain activator proteins on the DNA. These activator proteins are also called as enhancer proteins. They bind at the downstream section, as you can see here, downstream section, and they trigger. Now see, the one thing which has left off in a hurry is RNA polymerase, and the yellow line is mRNA synthesis. See these yellow nucleotides which are hurriedly entering into the entry gate of the RNA polymerase, and the exit channel of the RNA polymerase, a mRNA chain is synthesized. Red color is DNA, and the fast moving molecule is RNA polymerase. You can see RNA polymerase fastly at 400 nucleotide base pairs per second it is accommodating. Here the speed is around 40 nucleotides per second. At 40 nucleotides only you can see the speed of formation of a mRNA. At the end, this mRNA will be released in the cytoplasm. So this is how the RNA polymerase works. You can see many such animations in www.dnalc.org. Beautiful animations on molecular biology are given here. If you have to understand the genetics, I think that you have to either imagine these processes which are going on in your mind, or just take the help of some beautiful animations on the screen. So just see once again how this thing all proceeds, and this will be our point of next lecture, that is transcription. Here the transcription initiation complex is showing the binding of RNA polymerase. Then the activator proteins which are there, they activate the enhancer region, activate the trigger, they trigger the movement of RNA polymerase. RNA polymerase rapidly scans and slides. This is called as scanning and sliding. Scanning and sliding is taking place at the rate of 40 nucleotides per second, and suddenly, as you can see, rapid assembly of ribonucleotides from the DNA chain results into that golden colored chain mRNA. These all color codings are for your understanding. There is no coloration in the cell. And once it reaches, that is RNA polymerase reaches the termination site. There are different types of terminations. It terminates, that is termination of the mRNA molecule takes place, and that mRNA molecule is now ready for translation. That's all. Goodbye.